Thanks, everybody. Well, welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guest is on the most rightfully popular show there is right now. It's a show where her and a group of boys and girls fight monsters, Russians, and young love. Of course, I'm talking about Stranger Things. And this season, Natalia Dyer is a budding journalist bumping up against the sexist shenanigans of the men who run the Hawkins.
A new host.
It's building something.
No matter what happens, we have to stop him. Together.
Now it's time. We are going to end you. We are going to end your friends. And we are going to end everyone.
Kids are in danger. We need to end this. I can fight.
Better than any of us. But I need you safe.
Welcome, Natalia Dyer. Let's hear it.
Thanks, guys.
Let's get this show started. How are you?
Good. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on Stranger Things Season 3.
Thank you.
I love the show. I love this season. I would say that it's my favorite season of the show. There is something so special about it, and it really feels like as great as the first season was and as good as the second season was, they just really knew how to write for each of you at this point and give you great storylines. Did it feel like that when you got these scripts and you saw Nancy as this budding journalist sort of fighting Jake Busey's sexism in the newsroom?
Yes. Yeah. No, it was, I think this season felt the most different for all of us as well. We're filming in the summer. And yeah, but we've been with these characters for 3 years now. So we've gotten a lot closer to them, developed them, explored them, and the brothers as well know us. And I do think they keep in mind their actors when they're writing for us. So yeah, really just, they really stepped it up this year. Even when I was watching it, I was like, whoa. Like, this is our show. This is cool.
I feel like that on set as well. I mean, you got this mall set, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
The pools as well in the beginning. There's just such bigger, grander sets in this season.
Yeah. Well, the summertime lends itself. I think it's fun to explore that because we've seen these characters in the fall and the winter when it's dark and there's a groundedness there. But the summer lends itself to, what do they do? Pools, malls, hanging out. But yeah, I mean, it's just
a wonderful 80s trope as
wonderful
well.
80s, yeah, a little blockbustery. But yeah, I mean, every year, of course, the sets just keep getting more and more incredible. So to go to the actual, and it was a wing in an actual mall that was, I mean, the rest of the mall was working, but this one wing they adopted and turned into Starcourt, and it was just amazing. The art department, everybody does such a good job because they care so much about the authenticity of it that it's like an actor's playground. It's amazing.
Now, I have to ask, when the first season started, how old were you when you started the first season?
I was 20.
You were 20.
I was 20.
So you were already, for the most part, I mean, you're still growing up and, developing your frontal lobe. It happens at 25.
You're right.
But the other kids around you, for the most part, that you're working with were like 12, 13, 11, right?
Yeah.
And some of them have really had growth spurts since the last season.
I mean, Finn Wolfhard is maybe the tallest person. I mean, he's taller than me. I think he's taller than a lot of the teens. Yeah, I mean,
still wearing those shorts as well, which is just
still
so
in
funny.
Those shorts,
yeah,
still in those beautiful.
What has it been like to watch these kids sort of grow up from the first season? Obviously, they're still growing up. But
yeah, they are.
You were the closest thing to an adult for the kids at that time.
Sort of.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, no, bizarre, really. It's because, we you're working intimately with these people for 6-7 months, and then you're like, okay, bye guys. It's like summer camp, and then you see them a year later and you're, oh my gosh, they're all at that age that it just happens so fast. They just grow up so fast, and they're talking about driving, which is scary to me. I'm like, no, do not put you guys on the road. You're too young, but they're not.
Who do you trust the most behind the wheel of them?
I would probably say Sadie at this point. She's
Responsible.
pretty. She strikes me as responsible.
Who do you trust the least, if you can say it?
I don't think I'd get in a car with Noah. I don't know what it is, but I'm not
Because he's a
sure.
wild one, or do you think that he would just be...
He's I don't know. He's always dancing, and I don't know, something about it. But really, I mean, I probably wouldn't get in any of their cars, to be honest. I'm really I'm really nervous with transportation vehicles in general.
David Harbour, when he had him here not that long ago, I asked him this question in so many ways about, the kids growing up on set, and he said it's hard for him because it does feel like he has 7 kids sometimes on this set, and in some ways is, without overstating it, was a kind of a father figure in a lot of ways around the set. What has that been like to work with him over the course of these 3 seasons? Of course, he was the one who led that charge in the first, was that the Golden Globes or the Emmy speech?
Oh,
at that time?
yes.
Yeah.
He's a big kid in a way. But yeah, David is I'm sure he's just such a big, lovely energy and presence, and he's funny, but he also gets quite serious when he needs to. And yeah, I think there's I honestly haven't gotten to do too many scenes with him,
I
but
think you had one scene with him this season.
there was stuff when we were all together, but not like one-on-one. And I think that's one of the things that's really interesting about our
in that
show.
last or second to last episode, there's
we
that
all come, and we're
great scene where everybody's
come
having a
together.
moment
just
before all the action is about to, the climax is about to happen.
Stuff goes down. But yeah, this the ensemble nature of our show. I think one of the things I get most excited about every season is, who am I going to get to work with? Who am I going to have scenes with? What happens when you put this character with this character? What's that interaction like? So that's always, because we are, at the end of the day, I think the whole cast feels like a family, I'm sure. Yeah, I definitely feel sisterly towards the kids, and David said he feels fatherly. It feels very warm, and we all like to hang out with each other, but there's,
I think his version of fatherly is that oftentimes, with the exception of this season, because a lot of this season he's actually not with the kids that much at all.
Right.
I think there's probably, as the number one on the call sheet and the only adult in certain scenes, there's a corralling that maybe he has to take part in or used to at some point.
Yeah, sometimes.
That's my assumption. I don't know if that's necessarily the
that
case.
sounds like how David would have told it. Yeah, no.
He was like, I got this one kid that's in a band. I got this other kid who's now just wildly famous. I don't know what to do with
but
him.
the thing is, they've got such a good sense of themselves and a head on their shoulders that I feel like they have their stuff together better than I do most of the time. But yeah, there's a levity to having young people on set. It's, there's a playfulness, and I think what it does is it makes everybody else feel like they can joke and play and just have a good time. It reminds you that, yes, we're making a big show and time is money and, all these things are going on, but actors are usually just a bunch of goofballs. We just like to play and pretend and be silly with each other. So when we have those scenes like the ones in the mall that we're all there, it takes us forever to get anything done because we're all just kind of goofing off. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's interesting to grow up with these people and with this show and the way that everyone reacts to it. It's nice to have that kind of family unit, people who understand.
You know, I saw the cinematographer of the show, Tim Ives, posted this little video on Instagram of, do you know the one that
Wait,
I'm
is this
referring-
the one?
with the helmet?
Yes.
It's so cool. For anyone who doesn't know, I probably should have prepared so I could have showed it to you, but I didn't. There's the stuntman or the VFX guy who plays the monster quite often is just a man in a suit with like a mirror type helmet on, and he posted this great video of that man with the mirror helmet chasing you through the hospital hallway. What is it like to pretend it's a monster but look over and it's just a lanky dude in a mirror helmet, like going like rawr?
I am so happy he posted that, because that is so hard to describe to people. But it was one of the weirdest nights of filming I think I've ever had, because it was late. It was like a long day in the hospital and late, and there's lights flashing, and there's a lot of elements that are CGI that you're, like you need like watch this like dot on the floor and follow it, and then you get this guy in this like full red suit, and he gives so much, but yeah, there are, and as an actor, you're like, okay, I'm in it. This is what's going on. This is what I'm seeing really. But if you take a step back and you look at it and you're like, this is nuts.
What is my life?
Like, how did I get here? How is this my job? It's
You think
amazing.
you're thinking that? What about the guy in the mirror helmet? He's
I don't know.
really
He
thinking
was
that.
so committed. He was so good.
I see stuff like that,
Really
and I
gave
think
it.
that's the hardest acting job possible. Like, I remember seeing clips of like Benedict Cumberbatch playing Gollum or whatever it was. I
was
think
like
he played
Smaug,
Gollum.
right?
Excuse me. Yeah.
Was it?
Where I think he did Gollum. So, did he do Gollum? Right, Benedict Cumberbatch? No.
Smaug.
Thank you.
Smaug.
Sorry. Anyway. Anyway, and I remember watching that and being like, oh God, how embarrassing. Like, I could never, ever do something like that.
Yeah, there are so many things. Like, really, I think the hardest thing about being an actor is getting out of your own head and losing that kind of like, oh, am I going to look silly? Am I going to look foolish? What are people going to think? Because it's like, getting back to that, just be that childlike playing in your backyard sort of, I don't care who's watching, I'm a princess. Like that kind of an attitude.
How do you get out of your head when you're going into a scene? Do you have a process or a way in which you can try to like block out any sort of self-criticism?
I don't like to watch myself. I don't like to watch playback that much. I mean, I understand where that can be really beneficial and people like to do that, but for me, it just gets me too in my head. I mean, I'll listen to music. It's just like every set is so different. Every scene is so different if you're working with other people.
Is it too personal to ask like what your go-to music is for a big emotional moment?
It's not. It's just, it changes so often, and sometimes you listen to music so much it doesn't have that same effect. But honestly, sometimes just like, movie soundtracks or even like, really like music that was made to move emotions, and you can kind of just think over.
Like a swelling score?
Yeah, like a swelling, I think like Requiem for a Dream kind of has an eerie, like those kind of things can be really powerful. I'm sure there's some cringier versions of that, but whatever.
Requiem for a Dream is like pretty powerful and cringy in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, that's a good one. I mean, I was thinking like, I feel like when I was younger, it'd be like Secondhand Serenade, like, I don't know, things that, I don't know. It's you do you, but.
Now, I don't want to spoiler alert everybody.
A little late for that.
Yeah, right. At the end of this season, I felt like I was kind of like, are they wrapping up this whole show? Is this a series finale? Because it felt such a satisfying ending for everybody. And then, of course, we had the cliffhanger just after that. I watched post credits, guys. I saw. But prior to that, when Charlie and Winona and Millie are all leaving, what was it like shooting that scene? And what do you think their relationship is going to be like going forward?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was actually a little bit like, because that was towards, we filmed that scene towards the end of when we were filming the season. So there was kind of an inherent sadness to tap into. I mean, you know, we'd been there in Atlanta filming for 7 months, so we, you know, I think we were like ready to go. But every time you leave any job, again, it's like there's something very summer camp about it. You know, you had a good time, and you know you'll be back. I mean, you don't always know you're going to be back, but you know.
Knock on wood.
I mean, one of those shows, you might, you know, you never know. But
I think you guys will be back if you want to.
no,
Yeah, I think you're okay.
I feel confident. I don't know anything, but I feel pretty good. But yeah, there's an inherent sadness to it, and yeah, just like we have no idea what actually is next. They write, they don't tell us. As much as I try to get it out of them, the brothers don't say much. So we don't know. And so there is, you know, I think everyone has gotten so attached to these characters. Again, we've been with them for 3 years that it's like, well, you know, what does this mean? What is filming going to be like? You know, where are they going? I think more than any other season, I'm like, I need to know. Like, I need to know now. I've been texting the Duffers, like, hey guys, let's get dinner. Like, let's hang out.
Do you think
really casual.
Do you think they get texting like, Natalia wants to know what's gonna happen? Sorry,
That's what
busy,
I feel
can't
like.
get
They're
dinner.
they're very nice to me, but I feel like they must be on to me and be like, oh, sorry, we can't make it in the writer's room. They're always in the writer's room, I feel like.
So big spoiler alert, I guess. Post credits, you know, we see a Russian prison, and we hear the guards say, "Leave the American alone, not the American today." You know, I think a lot of us are supposed to insinuate that that is Hopper, that Hopper is alive. Were you? Am I wrong? Oh, I am.
Fan theories, I love it.
I'll leave it to you guys. Oh, it has to be Hopper.
Can we take
Oh,
a
this
poll?
is amazing.
I know.
This is amazing right now. Please turn the cameras on the audience, and 4 members of the audience say it's not Hopper and argue that, please, because I would like to watch that. Fight to the death of Stranger Things audience members. Full-on build series cage match. Let's go. What did you think? Was that in the script of the episode when you read it, or was that something that was really kind of a surprise for everybody? Because no one from the cast is in that scene.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, we get these scripts and so many revisions of these scripts while we're filming. It was in a version like way down, but I was actually there. I had already wrapped, but I ended up going to set that day, and it was very, very eerie thing to watch. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They won't get dinner with me. I don't know.
So you don't know if it's Hopper?
I
want you to look into this little girl's face right here and tell her it's not Hopper.
I don't know.
But it's Hopper, right? She says it's Hopper.
Okay,
so,
well,
I mean, you're gonna disagree with her?
No, she
Okay.
she looks very trustworthy.
I'm sorry that I did that to you. I don't know why.
No, it's fine. I'm as curious as everybody.
One more question before we go to the audience who have a few questions for you as well. You know, we talked about you sort of fighting the sexism in this newsroom, but one of the things that I also loved about that storyline is that Charlie's character as well, he believes there's sexism in a lot of ways at some points. He doesn't believe Nancy. He's skeptical of her at certain points. And I think that is such a smart storyline for this sort of like, for this woman who's been singled out as a fantasist and possibly a liar and trying to get ahead. What was it like getting those scenes for you and playing those scenes?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think when I read it, of course, there's a lot of dialogue going on about, you know, equality and then things, you know, even in the industry that are going on and just the time that we're at. And it's, you know, it's really nice to see that it reflected in this character, and to get to explore that and you know, Nancy really comes into herself in a different way this season through that, and she's quite fearless, and she learns to defend herself and speak up for herself, and you get these moments like what she has with her mother, you know, that woman and woman. It's a very woman forward season for us, I think. There's some strong women characters. You know, I do think there's a subtlety about it that's nice, and it's not just, you know, trying to hammer in points of view necessarily, but what was nice about it is that it was really woven into her character journey and her arc and how she comes into herself and how she, she's been fighting monsters, she's been in this other dimension, but then she has this new monster, this very real world, in her world monster, and, to see how she handles it, that was interesting to me. We've seen her in these other situations. Okay, well, how does she come up against this and deal with it? And I do think, there's so much about just being a woman that I think was, just relatable about it.
What I really loved was the subtlety of those scenes with Charlie, where I feel like as much as it's about monsters and as much as it's about, the rats and what she's finding, it's also about this idea where she is pointing out systemic problems in a way, and he is just unable to see it because he doesn't live that life as a man. And that's a scene, that's a scenario that I've been in with my partner before, where like you're getting told, no, this is a real thing that's happening to me in my workplace. And you're like, nah, come on.
Yeah, there's a kind of a parallel even with like Nancy and Joyce in season 1, where she's, this woman is saying all these things and she's right, but people just can't, I don't know. They just don't listen so much. I think it's a really important time to listen to women and what they're saying, because often they're right.
Right. Okay, we have time for a couple questions. Let's get a question. Who's got one? Who's holding them right here?
Hi again. We're
Hello
huge
again.
fans. So we were wondering, how do you prepare emotionally for a really difficult scene? Like if you have to cry or something, like how do you make the tears come out?
It's a good question. Yeah, very good question. It's tricky sometimes because of the way that filming works. It can be really fast-paced, and you'll be in a, it's nice when you get to go through the whole scene, but then you might have to do a pickup and you might have to stop and change directions, and there's a lot of exterior things going on. I think really as an actor, you just have to, ask, for the time. I'm not a fan of like the think of sad things, but if you can just, step off, even listen to some music, and kind of get in that headspace, like jump around a bit, just a second to be by yourself. You do have to kind of work at it, and figure out how to do it as quickly as possible, because it's not easy. But we're lucky in the sense that we do have a lot of people around us that are, if you ask for a minute, they'll give you a minute. But that is, there are tricks of the trade, of course. There's menthol sticks and all of that, but I think you can usually tell when people use those. But.
Do you feel, you mentioned time, did you find that going from season 1 to season 3 that the crew and you as actors have more time on set with it? Because for me, I have found in watching it that the show has always looked great, but this season in particular, it felt like everybody really had time to sort of get very different kinds of camera work, and it was much more masterful in certain ways that only comes with a little bit more time and a little more budget flexibility.
Yeah, no, budget, of course, is the key to any kind of time issue, I think. But I think there, a little more time. I do think there's, like season 1, of course, we're still figuring out who these characters are. We're trying to, and now it's a little more natural, and we have lived this history with them. So when things happen, there's just it's evocative, and you understand them faster, and you can kind of get there. But again, there's sensitivities on set, and of course the brothers care. Everybody cares about these characters at this point and the integrity of these scenes. And as an actor, sometimes you do have to like fight for another take, or asked to try it a different way. At the end of the day, you don't have the final say as an actor. So you might get it, they might use a take where you're like, oh, that wasn't my favorite take. But
And you can't fight too hard either.
No, you can't. Yeah. And there's so many other elements going on that you have to be a team player. But yeah, I think part of it's just being honest and asking for, what you need, and maybe if you're lucky, you get it.
A couple more questions right here. Hi.
Hi, Natalia.
Hi.
So my question for you is, what was the most exciting scene to film in season 3 of the show?
There was a lot of exciting ones this year, but I would say, I mean, that stuff in the hospital was great. Working with Jake Busey and Michael Park we had that whole sequence, that very physical, gory, scary, but we got to, block it and rehearse it and do some of our own stunts, not as many as I'd like, but some of them. And that was, it's hard because those scenes, of course, you're running and you're breathing and you're scared, so it's a lot of energy, but those were the days when you went home and you're like, wow, I'm exhausted and it feels great. So those, I think, were my favorites to film.
I think we have time for one more question, and you're holding a microphone. What do you got?
If I'm shaking, it's because you're my hero.
I'm not shaking, though.
I am.
Okay.
You can't see it.
Hi.
You're one of my biggest role models, and I want to ask, what are your biggest role models?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I mean, I think in general, a lot of the women in my life that I'm close to, I don't really think I have one that's just high up there. I think when my mother, my sister, I'd be lying if I didn't say Winona. She's lovely. But yeah, just women who are, growing constantly and challenging themselves and where they are. You could be my role model, honestly. It's just women who are very much themselves and who and want more and seek more and dream for themselves. I think I can find inspiration in that as much as anywhere. But thank you so much. That really made my day.
Natalia, congratulations on season 3 of Stranger Things. I love the show. I love having you come by. Thanks so much for stopping by.
It was so fun.
Stranger Things season 3 is on Netflix now. I don't have to tell you that. You've all seen it. Everybody give Natalia a huge round of applause for stopping by. Let's hear it.